Men's soccer has struggled to start their season, but there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Homecoming is back and we are just as excited as you are. We'll give you all the info that you need to know about the big game coming up. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We have some exciting news as volleyball has accomplished a feat that has eluded them for 13 years.
And later, we will also be bringing you a live interview with two men's tennis players.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1. After last year's removal of homecoming weekend, the university has decided to bring back the favored campus-wide homecoming festivities. The homecoming game will be on November 10th against Lafayette, where new head coach Ashley Howard and the team will make their first home appearance of the season. LaSalle announced that the tickets to the homecoming game are now on sale. Tip-off is scheduled at 3 p.m. at Tom Gola Arena. The day will start with a book signing and discussion by alumni David Grzybowski, author of Mr. All-Around, The Life of Tom Gola, and will also include a festival on Hanson Quad. Finally, the unveiling of the new tailgate tent will begin at 2 p.m. and lead into tip-off.
LaSalle Athletics announced the date for one of its biggest events of the year. The Bill Rafferty opening tip-off will be held on October 16th at Tom Gola Arena. The events include an open practice and reception featuring LaSalle alum and basketball analyst Bill Raftery and men's basketball coach Ashley Howard. Details on the time and pricing of the event have not been released yet, but will be available on goexplorers.com in the near future.
Number 3 brings us to the volleyball court, where senior Jansen Sheritz was named A10 Co-Defensive Player of the Week. Sheritz currently leads the A10 in digs with 309, with 43 for the week. 23 of those digs came in a sweep against Davidson. The sweep was the Explorers' first conference sweep since 2005. That's 13 years. I was in 3rd grade then. The Explorers outnumbered Davidson in kills, aces, blocks, and assists. That was awesome.
How about that sweep? You know
How
what I'm
about that
talking
sweep?
I mean, all I can say is we were excited enough that we brought a broom onto desk for that sweep, and it was in the lead into the show. That's how special
awesome
13
it
years
was.
of history is.
Where were you 13 years ago?
I believe I was also in 3rd grade. We are the same age, Dana.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for headlines this week. Let's take a look at what's been going on with our athletes lately. Madison Bauer lifted the women's soccer team over Davidson just 49 seconds into double overtime. Bauer currently sits at a tie for first place in the nation for game-winning goals. Regulation was a tough battle defensively from both teams, but LaSalle outshot Davidson during the 90 minutes. However, they could not find the back of the net until the 100th minute of play. Sophomore goalkeeper Claudia Jenkins made 2 saves in her 4th shutout of the season. Junior Jess Shanahan recorded her 3rd assist of the year on Bauer's game-winning goal. The women continued A10 play on September 23rd against St. Joe's. Isaiah Clark has your recap.
Monday afternoon, women's soccer took on St. Joe's in Atlantic 10 play. LaSalle opened the scoring early with a goal by sophomore Molly O'Brien in the 5th minute. Soon after, it would become a physical matchup as both teams struggled to find scoring opportunities, closing the first half with LaSalle leading 1-0. The Hawks would finally even up the score in the second half with a goal by Dakota Mills. St. Joe's would score once again on the penalty kick taken by Tyler Ryan, bringing the score to 2-1 in favor of the Hawks. Unfortunately, the Explorers can never answer back, making that the final score. Sophomore goalie Claudia Jenkins finished with 8 saves, her 2nd highest total of the season. Fellow sophomore Molly O'Brien is now 2nd on the team with 6 points on the season. The loss brings LaSalle's overall record to 6-2-1 and 1-1 in the A10. For SportsLine, I'm Isaiah Clark.
Men's soccer continued its struggles in a 2-1 loss at LIU Brooklyn. The Explorers got out to an early lead as senior Hayden Criollo scored his first goal of the season in the 21st minute. LaSalle allowed a goal before the half and another in the 66th minute to seal the win for the Blackbirds. LaSalle managed to outshoot their opponent with 18 shots to LIU's 15, with 8 shots on goal to the Blackbirds' 6. Unfortunately for LaSalle, Anthony Sciola, LIU's goalkeeper, made a whopping 7 saves to dismantle the Explorers' charge. The game marks the 6th loss in a row for the team and pushes their record to a dismal 2-6 on the year.
The field hockey team hosted a pair of games over the weekend, welcoming UMass and Vermont to Hank DeVincent Field. The Explorers first squared off with UMass in their first conference home game of the season. Freshman Regan Dougherty put the Explorers on the board with a goal, while the Minute Women tied the game by 1 apiece going into halftime. Despite some impressive saves by goalkeeper Emma Provost, UMass added 3 more points to the board in the second half, and the Explorers fell by a score of 4-1. The Blue and Gold remained at home to host Vermont on September 23rd. LaSalle recorded 6 shots in the first half while keeping Vermont scoreless going into halftime. Senior Logan O and sophomore Amber Blackshear each contributed a goal for the Explorers in the second half, while Vermont kept the game tied at 2 apiece. The game eventually went into overtime, and junior Chloe Luff got the job done for the Explorers as she scored the game-winning goal in a thrilling overtime matchup.
The volleyball team played their first A10 match of the season, but fell short against VCU. The Explorers dropped the first 2 sets, but made a comeback in the third to pick up a win. But VCU took down the Explorers in the 4th set to win the match. LaSalle then bounced back and swept Davidson. The Explorers jumped out to an early lead and managed to maintain it to win 25-18. The Wildcats applied some pressure in the second set, but a service ace by Jennifer Edwards gave LaSalle the lead again and a 27-25 win. The Explorers dominated the court in the 3rd set with 13 kills and won 25-18.
The men's water polo team hosted their first home game of the season this week, hosting the Colonials of George Washington and the Midshipmen of the Naval Academy. The Explorers got off to a rough start in their first game against George Washington and were unable to fully recover. The Colonials started on a 10-0 run that compounded into a 15-3 halftime lead. Sophomore Daniel DeMotor scored 3 of LaSalle's 10 goals as the team fell with a 21-10 final. In the second game of the weekend, the Blue and Gold were able to keep it close with Navy as they trailed by only 3 with 6 minutes remaining. However, they were unable to close out on top as they fell to a strong Navy team 15-10. LaSalle's defense really stole the show, especially in the first half, with goalie Cameron Schibel finishing with 10 saves.
The men's golf team hit the links at the Patriot Intercollegiate and provided an impressive play throughout the opening 2 rounds. Freshman Dragon Theme led the Explorer squad, tying for 7th place and finishing 1 over par, only 5 shots behind the leader. Sophomore Ron Fishang sat at 8 over par at the conclusion of day 1. With the entire men's team finishing in 11th place after the opening round, unfortunately, Mother Nature prevented the Explorers from finishing out their play as the 3rd round was canceled due to weather concerns. Over on the women's team, the Explorers finished 3rd at the Delaware State Invitational. Junior standout Maribel Declan finished in 2nd individually in the tournament, impressively improving on 7 shots in her final day of play. Sophomore Franca Hurtado also provided consistent play, finishing 7th individually.
Well, that's all we got for recaps, but when we come back, Francesco Mauri and Colin Lucius will be hitting the desk to talk about life as LaSalle tennis players. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. The men's tennis team started their season at the Villanova Invite. Here to talk about their start is senior Francesco Maury and sophomore Colin Lucius. Welcome to the show.
Hi guys. Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. The first thing I think we want to know is, what are you guys' goals for the season? Where do you see the team shaping up? How's it going so far, I guess?
So I think we can be at least 500 this season. I know our coach really believes in us, and from the 2 recruits we have coming in January, I think we could compete with a lot of teams and get at least an even record.
Colin, do you have anything?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we'll be disappointed if we can't come close to an even record this season.
Yeah. And speaking of your coach, Coach Hamilton, this is only his 2nd year, so you might know a little bit more since you're an underclassman, but how has he kind of changed your team, shaped it, really helped you guys?
So I think he really came in and tried to change the dynamic of the team. He, practices are tougher, conditioning at like 6 a.m., getting us like the right things and doing the right things for tennis-wise, because programs in the past, at least for the tennis program, were not as serious. Mm-hmm. So I think he really made the program serious, and he's getting us to like a good mentality to play this season.
Francesco, I know you were already relatively established when he got here last year as a college athlete, but Colin, I know you're a sophomore, so you've been here both years with him. So how has he shaped you as a player? What has he done to really help you out with your game, do you think?
Definitely mentality. He's a very intense guy. He has very high expectations, and that's kind of something coming into college. All the expectations that I had I put on myself, and now I have Chad and just kind of like drilling it in on me. And so I really like the intensity that he brings to the program.
Awesome. And so, Francesco, you are a senior. This is your last year. You're obviously highly recognized with this program. You've been doing really great things over the past couple of years. So what were your thoughts going into this season? Like, I'm a senior, I'm a leader.
So yeah, like you said, like leading and stuff, the underclassmen, getting them in like the right mentality to do well. But this year, even for me, I just want to keep doing better each year. I think from my first year to my second year, I did better. My second year, my third year, I did better. So hopefully I can continue that progress and do better this year. Have a good season.
Yeah. Going back to that leadership thing, have you seen any issues or any hardships with being a leader, or have you embraced it, and is it fun for you?
Yeah, I think it's more fun. Like, the team really listens and respects. So it's really easy being a leader on their team, because seeing a guy who plays one and like is higher than you, they kind of listen to that, especially for tennis, because it's like level wise. So it's been good.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So how's Francesco kind of been like that leader that he's talking about? Have you been able to see it? Like, how has he kind of shaped your game?
Francesco's a great player, and if anything, it just like, whenever you're playing around players that like you can kind of feel a level difference, it just makes you want to like fight harder to get better, and that's the kind of effect Francesco has on the team. So if we didn't have Francesco, I think you're looking at like 5 or 6 guys that aren't as good as they are now, because they don't have somebody to kind of like have like a goal that they're like striving for.
Oh, that's awesome. How does that make you feel?
So we've talked about the athlete side of you guys, but one thing we haven't talked about is the student part of that student athlete. What are each of your majors? What are you studying here? And how has your experience been at LaSalle so far?
I study communication, and it's been good. You guys are all comm majors, so you know how cool the comm department is. So I mean, it's been fun overall. Good grades and everything. What about you?
I'm an English major. I'm a part of honors board. I'm in the honors program. So I think I've got a pretty good balance on the athlete and academic part.
Yeah. What made you guys, now you both can answer this question separately, why did you choose LaSalle? Like, was it for tennis or was it for other reasons?
I mostly chose it for tennis, like recruiting wise. Mm-hmm. They were, I think, the best fit for me and close to home. Yeah. So, and Phil area is nice. So
I knew I was gonna try and play top college tennis, and I was really interested in coming to Philadelphia. I'm from Louisiana, so like kind of a big transition.
Culture shock.
Yeah, it was, but completely worth it. I love it here.
Do you like Philly? Have you been able to explore, kind of?
Not as much as I'd hoped to, just because freshman year, tennis is very busy. Mm-hmm. But hopefully this year I'll have more opportunities.
And how does it feel, kind of coming from so far away and competing against some of the best college players in the A10?
That's what I came for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to play in like a pretty tough conference where I'm getting good matches, and that's exactly what I'm getting with the A10. So.
That's awesome.
So we talked about the A10, but what are some of your more memorable matches, either in college or before? What stands out to you as a very memorable match that you've had personally?
Well, this summer I played a few tournaments, and I played like the number 4 from Ohio State, I think it was, and we had a pretty like long 2-hour match, and it was like grueling, and everyone was like cheering. There's a lot of stands, our fans. So it was, that was probably one of my better matches that I played this summer. It's pretty memorable.
Probably my most memorable match was last year against St. Bonnie when we got our first A10 win in like 8 years,
Yeah,
and
wow.
I actually got to be the clinching match.
Wow.
So I always remember that day.
Yeah, that's very fun.
And kind of taking it back down memory lane while we're already there, what got you guys into tennis? Because, you know, it's not like it's basketball, it's not like, you know, but it's an awesome sport. So, like, what kind of got you guys into?
My father was like a big like tennis player, and I was mostly a soccer player in high school,
Alright.
but he kind of like gave me the impression like, hey, you could, you know, you're pretty talented in tennis, so I feel like if you worked hard, you could do well and play like Division I.
So did you play tennis in high school?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
I did on the side.
I was
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
just came into LaSalle and started killing it right away. How about you?
I think I may have caught the finals of a Grand Slam on TV and just told my dad like that's what I want to do. Like I want to be there one day. And now I'm at LaSalle.
On your way there, huh?
Yeah, almost.
So kind of just to wrap up, we heard a little bit about your goals for this season. What would reaching those goals this season mean to you guys? You as a senior, I mean, and you just still growing, what would it mean to have that successful season or at least reach your goals?
I mean, it'd be great, like, because coming in like 2 years ago even, like where we were at compared to like this year, if we can get to like even 500, that'd be like such a huge like step and such good growth that like you can't really complain. So
I think if we reach our goals this season, then just means higher goals next season. And he's not really thinking about it a whole lot because he's a senior, but I have to deal with the higher expectations that will be placed upon us by our coach. Yeah. So
That's a good thing.
yeah, it's the long haul.
Building for a future too, not just for this year.
Exactly.
Set something up for
yeah,
the
man,
long
I'll
Exactly.
coach you guys next year.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. We're
problem.
really excited to see how you guys do this season, and we wish you the best of luck. And when we come back, Josh will be hitting the desk to tell us a little bit about soccer. Stay tuned.
He knows where my next class is.
"31% of female victims stalked by an intimate partner were sexually assaulted by that partner. For more help, visit www.victimsofcrime.org.
There's plenty of LaSalle sports action this upcoming week, so let us welcome Josh Abrams for this week's Explorer Report.
Thank you, Tegan. This week's Explorer Report will focus on the first conference game for the men's soccer team as they take on VCU on September 29th at 7 o'clock at home. The team is looking to snap an absolutely brutal 6-game losing streak. Hopefully for the Explorers, the home pitch will bring some more scoring opportunities as the team's offense has been a key factor in their struggles. Having scored just 3 goals during their skid, in order to bolster their offense, Salle will look for a quartet of playmakers in Mike Liska, Soji Olatoy, Pat McCarthy, and Hayden Croyolo to get on the score sheet. These 4 take a majority of LaSalle's shots, but they only have 3 goals scored in between them. Liska, who is the team's leader in shots on goal, especially needs to get going as he has yet to score a goal finding the back of the net. VCU, on the other hand, has started this season on a high note. The Rams have faced some stiff competition, taking on 2 nationally ranked teams and winning one of them, as we'll get to later. The Rams defeated number 20, Old Dominion 4-0. The matchup against LaSalle, however, will be just the second road game for the Rams, and they lost their first road game 5-0 against Indiana. VCU's leading goal scorer, Jared Green, has scored 3 times this year, including 2 goals against Old Dominion in just his second start of the season. LaSalle will also have to keep their eyes out for Joseph Ganella and Siad Hajai, who have each scored 2 goals of their own in 11 starts.
Yeah, so I think LaSalle might be in for a little rough going here. That, like you said, their offense has been pretty.
Seven goals in 8 games is certainly not the kind of offense that you want. And I understand soccer isn't necessarily the highest scoring of sports,
right.
But we need to at least. It seems like we're getting a lot of opportunities. We're just not catching it all.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they're giving up 2 to 3, even 4 goals sometimes. They need to put the ball in the net, like you said. I think their top goal scorer, Liska, hasn't scored yet, and he's a grad student. That's not something that you're looking for out of a grad student. You're looking for a guy to score and lead the team.
Right.
But he's also not a name we necessarily have seen a lot. So, I really hope that he can step up as the leader he is. I do know that the soccer team has had a couple coaches additions, coach changes. Last year we saw this team, they had their great runs and then they were just had their games, how did they not win that? They're very inconsistent.
Right, and from what I remember last year, a lot of these guys that we just said weren't guys that we were talking about last year, right? Because they were so senior driven.
Yeah.
Charlante
was
so
many seniors last year.
Johnny Charlante was probably the one player that I could think of that comes to mind because he was such a great goal scorer, but now they're trying to figure out who's going to fill in the goal scoring roles, and hopefully it doesn't take too long for them to figure it out because eventually it's just going to be too late.
Right. And one thing that is good for the team, though, is seeing Soji Olatoye and McCarthy both being on that list of top goal scorers and shot takers for us, because neither of them are seniors, and Olatoye is leading the team. Granted, it's only 2 goals, but at least they have some goal production still hanging around after this year's over.
Yeah, certainly. And, as I said, the senior leadership might not be there right now, but I think this may or may not be a rebuilding year depending on how these conference games go, because, 2-6 is not good, especially when the last 6 games you've lost. But again, it seems as if this team is a lot younger than we're usually used to seeing. Yeah. While there are seniors on the team, there is a pretty good balance. It seems as if the middle of the pack is starting to take over, and that could be a sign of a rebuilding year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to add to that. We lost so many seniors. Last year, all we did was talk about the seniors. They were awesome for this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of ends up being more of their rebuilding year.
Right.
And, hopefully these underclassmen can step up and take up that leadership, because when you don't have it, someone's got to,
Exactly,
step
yeah.
in
Someone's got to step up. It's that next man up mentality. The one thing I will say that may or may not give LaSalle an advantage this week is that, as we said in the report, that VCU is only traveling for the second time of the year of their season. So I think that may or may not have an advantage on us, depending on how the crowd is. Maybe if we get a good home crowd, we might be able to steal this thing.
Yeah, I think something to note there, though, is that game was against Indiana, and Indiana was ranked the number 4 team in the nation when they played them. They lost 4-0, which is never a good score in soccer. But when you play the number 4 team in the nation, it's tough to tough to put goals on the score sheet on the road.
All right. So, thank you, Josh. So for the first time this season, I don't think we've done this yet.
We have not.
We have our picks, our predictions. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, I just felt like it needed something.
Well, I have VCU winning the game 3-0. I think that LaSalle's offensive difficulties will definitely come out in this game, and VCU's offensive prowess will show.
I also have VCU winning this game 3-0. I think I chose it because Tegan's so knowledgeable, and I just trust his opinion. So.
Well, I'm actually more optimistic than the panel right now. I have LaSalle winning, bouncing back 3-1.
I like it. I respect it.
I don't know if I exactly embody that prediction, but if they can win, then this will just be a great start to conference play.
Agreed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh.
Yep, thank you. Well, that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of the Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Isaiah, Josh, and our SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.